Hello, senior members and all the cadets of the Doylestown Deposit Squadron 907. This is your senior member, Joseph Lockett Jr. speaking, and I want to give you guys a pretty basic demonstration of how to do a walk around on a Cessna 172. As you can see, I got the POH and also the aircraft's fuel tester in hand, so we're about to get started. Pretty simple. Every aircraft has a POH, so just make sure that you follow the guidelines and the aircraft will do, and everything should go pretty smoothly. For starters, let's remove the control wheel lock. So we're going to follow through the steps as you can see clearly on this video. I'm going to be calling them out. So right now you can see the first step, we're going to remove the control wheel lock, which is right here. Simply you just pull back on the control, lift it up, and neutral, the controls coming forward very slowly. Here's the control wheel lock, and let's store it on the side so that way it doesn't become a flying object. Next step, we're going to be checking that our ignition switch is in the off position. Sorry if the camera's not clear, but as you can see, the ignition switch is in the off position, which is great. Next, we're going to start the master. We're going to turn on the master switch, and we're going to check the fuel quantity. So here's the master switch right here. Press both buttons. As you can hear, hopefully the camera can hear the audio that is coming on live. And let's look over to the right. Look at the right fuel tank. You're going to see that it is full. And let's look on the left. It looks like it's indicating 3/4. Now, I always call these out as indicated fuel because we will do a visual fuel check. Once that is done, turn off the master switch as part of your next step. And then we're going to go outside and check the baggage door compartment. So right now, this is when you take the aircraft's POH, and this is when you begin to walk around the aircraft. So as of now, I'll put this here. So as of now, we're going to check the door. Make sure that it doesn't close. I got my keys in my pocket. I only had two hands. So one hand had to hold the book and the other hand is just holding my camera. And then we're going to perform the next step. The next step, as you're going to see here on this POH, is that we already had checked the baggage door compartment and the door is already locked and sealed. Now we're going to remove the rudder. We're going to remove the rudder gust lock. If the aircraft does not have one installed, but we will remove the tail tie down, and we're also going to check the surfaces for freedom of movement and security. So that's going to be our next step. So as we come around, you're going to get a feel of the leading edge. Never put your fingers between the elevator and the stabilizer. Now this is when you're going to pull the elevator slowly, get a feel of its movements. Right now, this is in the tail nose down position, and this is in the up position. So the aircraft will climb in this position and the aircraft will descend. Making sure that we're looking in the cotter pins. We're going to look all around. We're getting a clear look. And then we're also going to remove the tie down. Again, I'm doing one hand, so you may see a couple of issues. All right, I'm doing pretty good so far. I managed to get it out with one. Sometimes it's as tough as two hands. And then you're just going to pull the yoke, pull the rope slowly. You don't want to hit, you don't want to damage anything. What I usually do, I like to bundle up the ropes, the tie downs, right into one spot, like one tight circle. Okay. Now that we got that down, now let's go to the next step. So once we had checked number 2, we're going to make sure that we can check the rudder. You shouldn't have, don't forcefully try to move it. Just feel, if you feel like a tiny amount of resistance, then you know that the rudder is working. Making sure that on a night flight, you're going to check all your lights. This is just the static wick. This is just to discharge the aircraft in flight. So we don't have to worry. So everything is doing great. This is going to be my day flight. And on the other side, as you can see here, let me put this on the tail. This is the elevator trim. On the control, you're going to see there will be an elevator trim, and this manipulated. Do not touch or force the elevator trim. So just grab on the other side and do the same thing. You want to push the elevator up, the trailing edge down to bring it up. Do the same thing to go down. So you just want to make sure that everything is working. Make sure that all the cotter pins are in and make sure that it's secured. Get a feel of the aircraft. And feel around the edge. No nicks or nothing damaged found on the aircraft. And now we're going to move on to the next step. I'm going to put this POH down and I'm going to show you our next step. Like I said, I only got one hand, so I apologize for. Now the next step, we're going to check the aileron for freedom of movement. Same thing like what we did with the elevator. Now we're going to check our ailerons. We're going to push the control column up. At this point, the aircraft is going to bank to the right. So we're checking all the movements, making sure that all the cotter pins is in, making sure nothing is not jammed in between the aileron and the wing. Sorry for the camera if I did it wrong. So after that, then you're going to make sure that all the movement is done. Get a feel. Look for any damage or anything. Get a feel. And like a nice little bird poop there. Then you're going to push it up. I always like to neutral the ailerons. This prevent me from damage from hitting my head on the aircraft because I'm tall. And this here is actually the camber. As you can see, if you look at the shape of the wing, the air is going to flow over the top. That is the low pressure area, and the high pressure is under the wing. And this is how the aircraft attains flight. So the plane, as you may know, has to travel forward through the air in order to achieve lift. So as you can see, I'm just making sure that the leading edge is not damaged. There's no nicks and dinks. And now I'll go right back over to the manual. I'll put the manual on the cowling of the aircraft, so that way I'll be able to follow the next step more easily. We'll get into this part later. But right now, let me show you guys on the manual that our next step here, we're going to remove the tie down, and we're also going to inspect the main gear tire and check for the fuel quantity. So this is the purpose why we have this fuel cap here, which I will demonstrate that shortly. So right now, let's remove the tie down on the aircraft's right wing. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Again, I'm doing everything with one hand, so. And I am wearing a head strap, but my camera is not working when I was at home testing it, so I had to use it as like a hand mount. And then, like I said, I always like to bundle up the ropes all to like one tight area. It makes it much more easier to spot, especially in light conditions like this. Okay, now that we have checked this, so our next step here, we're going to check the main wheel tire for proper inflation. So this is when you're going to check out the tires. Give it a poke. Look at the cowling. Look at the brakes. All right, everything looks pretty good. Properly inflated. And then we're going to check the fuel, the fun part. Now on the next step here, we're going to visually check the fuel. So far we indicated that on the right tank it should be full according to when we turned on the master switch. So now we're going to check out the fuel. You come around just a little bit past the main gear, and you can see this little, I'm gonna make sure it adjusts. There we go. That's where we sump the fuel. You just simply push up and the fuel is now drained. You don't want to pull too much. And what we're doing now, we're checking to see if there's any water or anything that is contaminated that is found inside the fuel tank. So far, as you can see, the fuel is blue. There's nothing contaminated inside of it, so it's a good sump. Now on the fun part. Now I gotta get up here. So this is where you're gonna put your right hand here, put your left foot here, and then you're gonna step up by putting your left foot there. Now we're on top of the aircraft. Here's the fuel. You might not be able to see the fuel tank, but hopefully, but I can visually see. The camera's not gonna pick up, sadly, but the fuel is there. Looks like they just did a go around. And then we're gonna put the fuel always like to confirm the splash so that way it can help you judge how low the fuel is. But again, you always want to rely on all available fuel information. Have all fuel tested. Make sure that it's locked down sealed. Confirm that you have fuel. Make sure that you're able to see the splash of the fuel. And use whatsoever fuel tester you have available for the safety of the flight. Okay, now we'll go to the next step. Now we're going to check the oil level. Check the oil level. That's what we're going to do here, which is right in this little panel. Simply just open it up, and you may see that little circle. That's where our fuel, that's the oil. So you're just going to just twist it off, put it open. Again, I only got one hand, so just bear with me for a few moments. And there you go. Sorry about that. I have no way to do it with one hand. So right now you could probably see this is probably where the 8 is, just a little bit right here. There it is. That's the 8. So we're gonna go here. Okay, this plane had been flown. And as we pulled it out to run the oil, you can see the oil is like a little bit high, so it's in its proper range. Again, I'm gonna put the camera down. Okay, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I just put the oil dipstick back in. It's tightly secured, and now we're gonna perform the next step. Now, before every flight, you got to pull the strainer, the drain knob for about 4 seconds to clear the fuel strainer of possible fuel and any sediment, which, as you can see, is right here. This little white tab. You're going to pull this here, and then fuel is going to leak out from below. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can also tell it may be water if water floats on top. But once you have pulled it, this is when you you're done for this compartment. Close, seal, make sure it's nice and smooth. And now we're going to move to the next step. The next step is to check the propeller and the spinner for Nixon security. Now, this is where you're going to be approaching the engine. Get a feel of the propeller. Feel the propeller blade. I don't feel nothing Nixon to my hands, which is great. Do not spin the propeller, because you can always turn the propeller. You can always start the engine without the key ignition if the magnetos is hot. Walk wide and around the engine. You don't want nothing to spin. Now we're going to check the landing light for condition and cleanness. So now the landing light is actually right here. This is the landing light. I'm going to put it right behind it. So as you can see, you can probably see my reflection. So you're just making sure that it's nice and clean and it's visible, which it is. Then you're going to go to the next step, which is after we check the landing light, now I'm going to check the carburetor air filter for restriction by dust and other foreign material. And the carburetor is right here. This is the air filter. All the air flows into here. Nothing contaminated. So this is pretty much what it looks like. Almost looks like the air filter in your house a little bit. So this is where that's our carburetor air filter. Go to the next step. Now you're going to check the nose wheel strut and tire for proper inflation. And also, as you can see, disconnect tie down rope. As we're about to go down, you're going to realize there is no tie down rope for the nose, so we don't have to worry about that step. But we're still going to make sure that we have checked the strut. This is the sensitive part of the aircraft. In case you want to know why you have to perform a soft field departure, because this piece, this is the most sensitive and the most weakest part of the aircraft. So you have to protect the nose gear. So as you can see, proper inflation, tires in good condition. Now we're going to spin the manual over here, so that way it's easier for me, because we're going to be checking on the other side. And now we're going to inspect the flight instrument static source opening on the side of the fuselage stoppage, which is only on the left side, and that is about right here. This is the static. That is the static part. So you can make sure that there's nothing contaminated flowing into the engine or any of our static source. which is great. Nothing's damaged, nothing in the way. Now we're going to, sorry, just tap it. Now we're going to check the main gear tire for proper inflation. Same thing what we did with the right wing. Now we're going to do it with the left wing. And also we're going to check the main tire, and then we're going to check for the fuel. As we come around, we're going to check the oops, sorry, I'm getting drops on fuel on me. So tire looks pretty good. It's in good condition. As you can see, yeah, that's the fuel vent. You can tell that it's already at full fuel. And then we're going to do the same fuel test. We're going to do a visual check and drain the fuel. Take the same fuel cap, come around. Again, watch out for that fuel vent. As you can see, the plane's just been topped off. I'm gonna come around. Here it is. Take the fuel tester, push it in, and we're gonna stop right here. Let's go out to where we got better lighting. Turning on my camera on. Got the auto shut off. So as you can see, there's no bubbles or any contaminated object found in the fuel tester. So it's showing pretty good. So it's blue. Doesn't have that strong kerosene smell. So 100 LL has been loaded properly. Now we're going to do the same thing. You're going to climb to the top of the aircraft wing again. Simply put your left hand here, your left foot here, and then you're going to put your right foot here, and you're going to step up. Back on top of the aircraft. Now let's do a visual inspection. You'll probably not be able to see the splash or the reflections of the fuel, but I can visually confirm that the fuel has been topped. I'm going to take this fuel tester, and you're going to carefully pour it back into the aircraft, into the plane's wing tank. Shake it off. You don't want no fuel splashing on you. It's not a fun experience. Take it from me. Make sure that's nice and tight. Take the fuel tester, grab the handle, and step down. All right. Now we're in for the last part. So we're going to remove the pitot tube cover if it's installed, and check for the pitot tube, which is right here. This is the pitot tube. This sensor feeds only the airspeed indicator. So we're making sure, like right at the tip here, there is nothing inside of it. You can't see it, but you can pretty much see how close that is. So nothing here, there's no drain, nothing blockage, which is great. The next step is we're going to check the view vent. I'm going to check the view vent. That was the one where I was getting wet earlier. Notice how it's dripping. So as the plane is full of tank, it's pushing out all the excessive air that's found inside the tank out, and any excessive fuel leaks off through this fuel vent. So as soon as I get home, I'm definitely going to take another bath. Check the stall horn. Whoopsie, that's the wind doing that. Next step is we're going to check the stall warning vent opening for stoppage. This is the stall horn. The stall horn is placed here, so we're just going to check it. I'm going to move the camera to the side. Just going to move it to the side a little bit so I can see it. And I don't see no stoppage. You probably cannot see inside, but this is where the stall horn will go. This is where the air goes in to start the stall horn. So there's no stoppage there, which is perfect. We're almost done here. Almost done. The winds keep blowing away my papers. And then also we're going to remove and also disconnect the wing tie down. And here it is. Just gonna remove, wow, they gave me 3 knots here. Well, let's see if I can do this one. They're challenging me, people. Now we're going to remove this tie down. There we go. Like I said, I'm doing this with one hand while I'm holding the other camera because I had no way to adjust my GoPro. And I'm doing a good job. I'm winning. All right, now that I got that piece out, now you're just gonna pull the rope down very slowly. I don't want to damage anything, anything unusual. Okay, and then you're just gonna bundle it right where you found it. On this airport, it's right here in this grass. And then the final step, this should be step number 22, if you were counting along, is to check the aileron for freedom and movement of security. And here we are at the final step. We just checked out the ailerons, make sure we got freedom of movement. Check the cotter pins, make sure everything is secured. Hope you can't see it. There it is. There's the cotter pin. Making sure that we have movement. And that's it. We're done. All completed. We just did a thorough walk around. It took a little longer than usual. Most likely it will be done within about, I'll say 10 minutes if it wasn't for the camera getting in the way. But other than that, you just seen a proper walk around on the aircraft. All right, that should be about it. As you can see, it's a good day to fly. Clear, sunny, winds calm. Everybody's taking off from runway 23, and I'm going to be taking off doing the same thing. I probably may do a short fields, I would say a soft field departure and a short field landing. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. And other than that, enjoy your day, everybody. Play safe. Make sure you stay at home. Wash your hands frequently, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.